Welcome back. Today, if you have been struggling with trying to figure out how to budget your money in a way that can help you actually hit your money goals, stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about. I'll be sharing 3 tips to make budgeting easier for you. So I can't wait for you to get these gems and to see if it makes your budgeting and your money management that much easier. If you haven't subscribed yet, then go ahead and hit that button and turn on the bell so that you never miss a video. I'm really excited to dive all the way in here on YouTube to provide the best tips and tricks to help you get your mind right and get your money right. So these tips are actually the steps that I used to pay off over $90,000 of student loan and credit card debt in 3 years. And then I actually ended 2020 with almost $30,000 cash in the bank after paying off all of my debt within about 6 months after becoming debt-free. And so I'm gonna share with you exactly what I did and actually also how I work with my students, like this student who talked about how helpful breaking things down in this way was. Before we can dive into the tips, we actually need to get on the same page about a couple of things. I actually talk about money from a different approach than maybe the usual or you've seen before. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist turned money mindset coach. So I'm really coming from a psychological perspective when I'm talking about money, which may be a little bit different than what you've seen. But when we're talking about a budget, we're really talking about your plan for your money. And a budget is actually a guesstimate, my friend. It is not set in stone. It must be treated flexibly, tentatively, and that's going to make it so much easier for you to be successful with it. So that's what I want to make sure that we, start off right at the top, getting clear on first. Your budget is actually just one piece of the puzzle. Just like our bodies, right? You can't rely solely on working out for your body to be healthy. You have to work out and rest and eat well in order for your body to, flourish and thrive. And the same thing goes with your money. You can't rely solely on your budget to make you financially free and successful. There have to be these other things in place, and I call it your mindful money system. You may hear it spoken about in different ways, but for me, again, coming from that psychological perspective, I'm trying to figure out how we can be more mindful with our money and create a system that helps us to thrive and flourish when it comes to attracting abundance and prosperity. There are actually plenty of different options when it comes to budgeting. There's the 50, 30, 20 budget. There's a zero-based budget, a values-based budget, a no-budget budget. Like, it gets a little bit crazy. But the only budget that's actually going to work is the budget that works for you, the money plan that works for you, the mindful money system that you create that works best for you. Now, what does that mean? You're probably actually going to need to spend some time trying different things out to see really what works best for you. And this is why I come from that psychological perspective, because you have to raise your level of self-awareness to know what's going to help you be successful, because not 100% all the things that you hear on the internet are going to work for you. Just because it worked for Cindy and she paid off however much debt doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just because I'm sharing certain things with you doesn't mean 100% what I say is going to work for you. But hopefully it adds to the repertoire of things that you can try and get closer and closer to creating a money system that you feel really comfortable with and that helps you get amazing results. For me, I know in my journey, I tried so many different things. My ex had tried to teach me how to budget with an Excel sheet. It didn't work. I tried using Mint. It didn't work. I tried using my banking tools. It didn't work. And so I really had to go through a couple of different, options and ways of managing my money to find what did work for me. And I'll talk about, what system I use here shortly. But the same thing goes for you. And my question and challenge to pose for you is, how committed are you to the journey? You know what I mean? Because if you just want to get results overnight, that's cool. But you may find some obstacles and roadblocks on that path, right? If you're really committed to your journey of financial freedom and independence, you need to be in it for the long haul, and you're gonna wanna not get discouraged by things not going perfectly the first time around. And so I'm saying all this before we jump into what exactly to do with your money, because I feel like we have to have this conversation first. There's plenty of us who start on, creating budgets and then we fall off. We try a different budget sheet and then it doesn't work. We use this other, option or Excel or whatever, and we do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then we stop. And so I really want to make sure that we're hitting on that mindset piece before we dive into the tactics, so you're much more able to find long-term success. I have 2 asks, okay? That's a weird word, asks. I have 2 things to ask you one thing, all right, to ask is that you stick to whatever money plan that you choose for at least 3 to 6 months. You have to give yourself the time to get through the learning curve of learning how to manage your money differently. You have to give yourself the time to work out the kinks. So it's not going to happen in 1 month. All of a sudden your money system is going to be organized and perfect. You want to give it at least 3 to 6 months. And then my second ask, okay? My second ask is that right now you pause this video, put an appointment in your calendar for your next money meeting, and then come back and comment done so that I know it's real, okay? So put that appointment in your calendar. Why? Because when you have stuff on your calendar, you do it. When you know when you're supposed to be at work, you show up. And so how can we do the same in our money journey and put an appointment in, set the time aside, even if you have to move it or whatever, but just do that action now so that you're really setting yourself up for success moving forward. And then, like I said, come back, comment done, and we'll keep going. Now, ideally you would have at least one monthly money meeting a month, all right? At least one money meeting a month. Some people like to do it bi-weekly. Again, you have to figure out what works best for you, but you have to try before you can know what's gonna work best for you. So starting off with one so that you can create at least one unique monthly budget a month. This doesn't mean that you don't revisit your accounts and look at your plan again throughout the month, but just really giving yourself time to sit down with your money, work on that relationship, tell your money where you want it to go after you do step one, which is coming up here in a minute, and then be able to see what happens throughout the month, which is really the exciting part, right? This is all experimentation. And so, like I mentioned in my book, The Financial Freedom Formula, you have to assess first and then plan and then play. This should be a fun thing. We want to change our association with money, and I will be talking a lot more about that here in the future. So here we go. Let's dive into these tips. So number one is that you want to audit your spending first. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see ladies make when it comes to their money, managing it and making it multiply and work for them. Before you create a budget, before you try to tell your money where you want it to go, you actually need to first figure out where it's been going and why. So first you want to audit for your monetary spending. You want to look at the last 30, 60, 90 days and see, were there any patterns? Were there any, you know what I mean, spikes when it came to your spending? Where did the money go? Did it go to Target? Did it go to Amazon? Did it go to, I don't know where it went, but you need to look and see where your money went monetarily. And then you can do this next part, which is you want to then do a mental audit. Over the last 30, 60, 90 days, why did your money go where it went? This might be more significant than anything else I say today. You need to understand whether your mental and emotional state contributes to how you spend money and how and why. Because when you do, you'll be able to start planning for those fluctuations better and get in control of spending from a place of logic, right? And your strategic plan instead of as much coming from emotion. Like, it's not bad to spend money with your emotions, because I think having a values-based budget is important, but you don't want it to be 100% of the time that your emotions dictate where your money goes. So those are the two things. Audit monetarily what happened 30, 60, 90 days, and then mentally what happened 30, 60, 90 days. Did you have a breakup? Does your period affect your spending? When you're happy, does it affect your spending? I like to spend money all the time. When I'm happy, when I'm sad, all the time. But that helps me to know when I'm experiencing, highs and lows, to be mindful about what I'm doing with my money and create checks and balances in my money system so that I don't feel like I'm out of control or getting out of hand. Now it's time to create the plan. This is the budget, the B word, the thing that people don't like. And if you don't like the B word, then call it something else. Call it a spending plan, or whatever you like, a money plan. The budget, right? So when it comes to budgeting, you want to know a few things. You want to know what your fixed expenses are. You want to know what money is coming in. You also want to know what your additional expenses are, what your debts and liabilities are, and what your goals are, okay? I know I just said a lot real fast, and I will go back through and break it down a little bit, right? So you want to know what your fixed expenses are. This is your bare bones budget. I call it that because it's really just, at a minimum, what do you need to be able to keep the lights on? That's rent or mortgage, that's food, that's gas, that's utilities, phone, internet, so that you're able to live on a very basic level. Those are your fixed expenses. They typically do not change that much, right? And then you want to know how much you're bringing in, and that's going to tell you, am I making enough money to cover my fixed expenses or not? That's a question you need to ask and answer, okay? Now, when I do my budgeting with my students in the sheet that I use, if y'all want me to do a video with a screen share of an actual budget tutorial, then leave that in the comments and I will happily oblige, but I will only do it if it's asked for. So anywho, you want to know what your fixed expenses are because it does all the math for you, which is really fun. I became a therapist because I was trying to figure out which degree had the least amount of math. You want to know what your fixed expenses are and whether you're making enough money to live, essentially. This is a question that I had because I didn't know what my life cost, if that makes sense, on a monthly basis. I used to use the Every Dollar app, and I couldn't figure out how to make it tell me, what is my life cost this month? You know what I mean? And you want to know almost to a T, because every month does kind of fluctuate a little bit, but the more you know, the more empowered you are to tell your money where you want it to go. So anywho, in the sheet, there are 2 columns, and you want to be attending to these things in whatever way that you decide to create your plan. There's going to be a projected place where you project what's going to happen, and then there's going to be the actual place. So what did you plan for, and then what happened, my friend? This is why a budget is a guesstimate and flexible, because you cannot 100% be Miss Cleo and know exactly what's going to happen with the money, because life be life-in, all right? So when you're projecting, you're coming up with a guesstimate. You're saying, this is what I think is going to happen. And then you track throughout the month to see what actually happened. And sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. And sometimes you're like, oh, money got spent more than I thought it was going to because of life. And so when you project, what are your fixed expenses? What do you think you're going to make that month? And then you want to know what your additional expenses are, such as, annual fees, whether it's property taxes this month or car registration, subscriptions, dining out. So you want to then add on those additional expenses so that you can see where the numbers are at. And in my sheet, it does all the calculations for us and lets us know whether we're in the red. It literally, the cells turn red, which is cool. If we're in negative. And then you want to add in your debts and liabilities. So do you have student loans, credit cards, personal loans, mortgage, car payments, different things like that, and be able to calculate, okay, where is the money, at after all of those things? And is there money left over? If there's money left over, then that overage, I call it, helps for you to understand, okay, this is the money that I can use to now put toward additional goals like saving, paying down debt, sinking funds, and things like that. Now you can build your sinking funds into your additional expenses if you like. I think it's, a great idea if it feels right for you. Again, self-awareness is key, and you want to play with what's going to work best for you. I have a couple of friends who recently got engaged, and I'm like, I've been thinking about it for some time, but now I'm like, we really need to do this. Have a friend sinking fund, right? So that when my friends have certain occasions coming up, I'm setting money aside specifically to be able to support, to contribute, to celebrate, enjoy, and not be stressed when someone is getting married or having a baby, because it feels like this last minute expense. But I knew that they was dating somebody, seriously. I knew that they were getting married. I knew that they were getting ready to have a baby, right? So I can't be upset or be resentful for something that I should have anticipated would be coming up and that I could have otherwise planned for. So I digress. Let's dive back into what those last tips are as we get ready to wrap up here. So when we look at our money and what the numbers are saying, it tells a story, because the numbers don't lie. You know what I mean? It's going to be very apparent whether you are in a position right now to make the progress that you want, or that maybe you need to focus in a certain way to be able to position yourself to make progress. For me and my journey, when I started budgeting, I wasn't making enough money to live, let alone to be able to contribute, I think it was like $2,000 a month to my debt to hit my debt-free by 30 goal. But that's why there's a difference between eyesight and mindsight. And eyesight is what's right in front of you, plain and simply. This is how much money's in the bank. This is how much the bills are. And it is what it is. But Mindsight is where we get to entertain possibility and what if. What if I figure out how to make more money? What if I work overtime? What if I start a side hustle? What if I'm able to find a more higher paying, job? Or what if I'm able to manage my money better? And in this place where we entertain our mindsight and what's possible for us, then we can start getting creative on how to make those things happen. Number 3, this is the last but maybe most important thing, is that you must track your spending. Please God, if nothing else, okay? Track your spending. I used to use the EveryDollar app. Why? Because it was on my phone. It was very accessible. As soon as I would check out at the store, I would stop and stand there for 5 seconds to put in whatever that transaction was. And you might find a different way of doing it, whether it's using your notes to put your tracking in, whether you like to go back to your bank account, on a daily or weekly basis. For me, it just felt like cumbersome and too many steps to try to go and revisit my sheet daily or weekly. I just didn't do it. So it was like, how can I, remove and reduce friction? For me, it was having an app on my phone. As soon as I get gas, I put $40 in, the app that continues to do those calculations for me. And so you'll want to know what's going to be your best bet, but please, freaking please, find a way to track your spending, make it something that you attach to another habit. Ooh, I'm going to talk about habits at some point, and how to create better money habits. Oh my goodness. Let me know if you want to see a video on that. Attach it to something else, and then that gives you the data that helps you have more accurate projections over time. So when I say you want to be doing this for 3 to 6 months, it's because you want to put data into your money machine, right? So the more data you have, the more accurate your projections become, the more in control you are of your money, the more you know how your emotions affect how you spend. And so you have to stick with something for a length of time so that you have more data to influence how you can be empowered to be in the driver's seat in your money journey instead of the other way around. So I know that might have been a lot. Pause it, go back, take notes, ask questions. Let me know your key takeaways and action items in the comments. Anyone who's here that's known me for some time knows I'm a teacher at heart. So I want to know what really resonated with you from our conversation today and how you plan to turn this into action in your money journey. It's not good enough to just watch the video. You must turn this into movement in your life in some way, shape, and form. That is my third ask, I guess, on top of everything else. And if you are struggling to create a system, a money plan that helps you hit your goals to become debt-free, save thousands of dollars, and create financial freedom, then book a call with me and my team. The link is in the description. I would absolutely love to learn more about where you're at, where you want to go, and how we can help you get there. It means the world to me that you would spend any amount of time with me. I really take it to heart and take it very seriously. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to adding more value to your money journey along the way. But go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. I'll talk to you next time, gems.